The cabin lights flickered as the plane hit a rough patch of turbulence, the kind that makes everyone grip their armrests a little tighter. Passengers exchanged uneasy glances, and even the flight attendants paused mid-aisle. That's when the captain's voice came over the intercom. Calm, but carrying a weight that made every heartbeat stop for a moment. "Any pilots here?" he asked, each word hanging in the air like a warning. A low murmur swept through the cabin. People looked around, expecting someone, anyone, to stand up. But no one moved. Near the back of the plane sat a quiet teenage girl, headphones around her neck, a book about aviation half hidden in her lap. She had barely spoken since boarding, blending into the background like she always did. No one knew she had spent her entire childhood in small airfields with her father. No one knew she had more hours in a simulator than most adults. And no one knew she was silently praying the captain wasn't asking what she thought he was asking. Moments later, the captain himself stepped into the cabin, face pale, voice strained. One engine had failed, and the remaining one wasn't stable. Panic buzzed through the rows like electricity. Still, no trained pilot answered. The captain scanned the passengers with desperate eyes, until they landed on the girl clutching her aviation book. She hesitated, breath shaking. Should she stand up? Should she tell them what she knew? Before she could decide, the aircraft suddenly lurched downward. The drop lasted only a few seconds, but it was enough to make passengers scream and clutch the seats in front of them. The girl's heart pounded so loudly she wondered if anyone else could hear it. She wasn't supposed to be in this position. She was just flying home after visiting her aunt, planning to spend the whole flight listening to music and avoiding attention like she always did. But now the captain's eyes were still on her, as if he sensed something she hadn't said out loud. She looked down at her hands, remembering the quiet weekends at the small airport where her father worked. She grew up around the smell of fuel and the sound of engines warming up. While other kids played games, she sat beside pilots, watching them navigate dials and switches with calm confidence. Her father used to joke that she knew more about emergency landings than some new co-pilots. She never thought those lessons would matter outside of their little world. The plane trembled again, a reminder that time was running out. A flight attendant steadied herself against a seat and whispered urgently to the captain. He nodded, jaw tight, and made his way back toward the cockpit. Before disappearing inside, he shot one more glance at the girl, half hope, half plea. She tried to steady her breathing, but her mind raced. What if she stepped forward and made things worse? What if she stayed quiet, and the situation spiraled? The book in her lap slid to the floor as another shudder ran through the cabin. Passengers gasped, and the girl knew the moment to decide was almost here. The girl slowly leaned forward, gripping the armrests as the plane continued to shake. Around her, passengers whispered in panic, each imagining the worst. A mother tried to calm her crying toddler. An elderly man pressed his hands together, mumbling a prayer. A businessman argued with himself under his breath, insisting the pilots would fix everything. But deep down, everyone felt the same fear. The aircraft was losing control. She glanced toward the cockpit door, still shut, still too quiet. If the situation were improving, someone would have said something by now. But all they heard was the steady hum of the failing engine and the occasional beep of warning signals drifting from the front. Every sound felt like a countdown. Her thoughts were interrupted by a young flight attendant kneeling beside her. Her voice trembled, but her eyes were steady. "Are you okay? You looked like you knew something." It wasn't an accusation, more like hope searching for a place to land. The girl didn't answer. Instead, she remembered her dad's words. "You don't need a uniform to save someone, just courage and knowledge." She swallowed hard. Knowledge she had. Courage, she wasn't sure. Meanwhile, another angle of the crisis unfolded. In the cockpit, the captain argued quietly with the first officer. The first officer insisted they try to restart the failing engine. The captain knew the risk. It could flame out completely and send them into a deeper dive. Both men were exhausted, hands shaking, alarms blinking around them like red stars. Back in the cabin, the turbulence worsened, rattling overhead bins. A few rows ahead, someone shouted, "What's happening?" No one had an answer, but the girl felt the pull inside her growing stronger. Soon, she wouldn't be able to stay seated. The plane jolted violently, tossing passengers from side to side. Screams echoed through the cabin as the overhead comp,